The first cause, I am. Introduction. This work is grounded entirely in the teachings of Neville Goddard, one of the most profound voices of the 20th century on the power of the mind and the creative force of consciousness. Neville's message was simple, radical, and unchanging. Your imagination is God, and your assumptions shape your world. Before you knew your own name, before you learned the rules of society, before you could explain anything you saw, there was one awareness that needed no explanation. I am. That simple recognition, the undeniable fact that you exist, is the seed from which every experience of your life grows. Over the years, you have called yourself by many titles: child, student, friend, parent, worker, dreamer. You have worn countless masks, but underneath every label, beyond every changing role, there is one unshakable truth: you are aware of being. Neville taught that this awareness, this I am, is not merely your private sense of self. It is the same life that God claims in Scripture when he says, I am that I am. This is the first cause, the source from which all reality flows. And what you attach to it, what you dare to assume after those two words, becomes the blueprint for your entire life. Most live as though the world moves first, and they react. They see themselves as the product of events, chance, or fate. Neville reversed this completely. He insisted that events are the product of the inner self-concept, that the world is not a cause, but a mirror. Change the image you hold within, and the reflection must change without. This is why Neville called consciousness the only reality. Your dominant thoughts, your inner conversations, your persistent feelings. These are the silent architects of your days. If you see yourself as small and powerless, life will prove you right. If you dare to see yourself as wise, strong, abundant, and loved, the outer world will shift to match that vision. The aim of this audiobook is not to hand you abstract philosophy, but to give you a living method rooted in Neville Goddard's teachings. You will learn how to direct your consciousness with precision, how to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, and how to hold that state until it becomes fact. You will see that creation is not something that happens out there. It happens in you, through you, and as you. Neville often said, "You are already that which you seek, and your refusal to believe it is the only reason you do not see it." By the end of these chapters, you will understand why. You will know that the power of your consciousness is not just an idea. It is the very mechanism by which your reality is made. And it begins, as it always has, with the eternal declaration, I am. Chapter 1. The Power of Assumption. Everything you will ever experience, every condition you will ever meet, every circumstance you will ever endure or enjoy, flows from one cause: the assumption you hold of yourself. The outer world is not the starting point of events, it is the echo. The origin is always within. You do not draw to yourself what you want, you draw what you are conscious of being. That is the great law. Your consciousness is the only reality, and your world is nothing more than the screen upon which your inner states are projected. It is not enough to think of your desire. Thinking of keeps it at a distance, as something you hope one day to reach. The secret is to think from the desire fulfilled, to occupy it as though it were already a fact of your life. You must mentally live in the end, and let that end saturate your mind and feelings until there is no room for contradiction. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are entering the creative state. You are placing yourself where only the truth of that state can find you. The outer world must then rearrange itself to reflect the inner order you have accepted. Scripture declares, Let the weak say, I am strong. Why should the weak speak of strength? Because the words, I am, are the words of creation. When you attach any quality to I am, you set in motion the law that brings it into visibility. If you say, I am ill, and persist in that feeling, you will harden it into fact. But if you say, I am healthy, and persist in that feeling, you will dissolve the former state and replace it with the new. It is the nature of consciousness to assume. You are always assuming something about yourself and the world. Most do it unconsciously, letting appearances dictate their assumptions. But when you awaken to the law, you learn to assume deliberately, not as a reaction to facts, but as the cause of them. Think of the seed planted in the soil. The moment it is placed there, unseen forces begin to work, drawing to it all that is necessary for its growth. You do not see the roots form, you do not hear the seed split, yet the plant is inevitable because the seed is already the plant in embryo. Your assumption is that seed. The moment you accept it as true, unseen currents begin to operate, gathering people, situations, and events to bring your inner image into the realm of sense. Do not confuse assumption with mere daydreaming. Daydreaming is idle and uncontrolled. Assumption is a deliberate act of occupancy. You step into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and abide there. You think from it. You speak from it. You react to it. You live as if no other possibility exists. When you enter a room in darkness and switch on the light, you do not question how the electricity works. You simply expect illumination. In the same way, when you assume the state of your desire fulfilled, you do not concern yourself with the mechanics of how it will appear. You rest in the certainty that the law is faithful, that what you have assumed in consciousness must be made visible in the world. Some will say, but how can I assume something when all my senses deny it? Your senses are not the truth. They are the shadows of your former assumptions. To insist on waiting for the senses to confirm the new state before you believe it is to plant no seed at all. You must believe before you see, for it is your belief, your assumption, that gives the senses something new to confirm. The mind works in patterns. Change the pattern, and the expression must change. There is but one substance, consciousness, and it molds itself into whatever image you impress upon it. The same mind that expresses poverty can express wealth. The same consciousness that shows forth illness can show forth health. The substance does not change, only the organization of it does. Let me give you a picture. A piece of metal, unmagnetized, will not lift a pin, but arrange its molecules in order, and it becomes a magnet with the power to attract. Nothing has been added to the metal, it is the same substance, only its internal arrangement has changed. So it is with you. You are not adding anything to yourself when you assume a new state. You are simply rearranging the structure of your mind so that it expresses in a different form. When you persist in your assumption, the outer world is compelled to mirror it. This is not a matter of luck or chance. It is the law. It cannot fail. What you consent to as true in the depths of your being will sooner or later be made visible in your world. You may protest, I cannot lie to myself. I cannot say I am wealthy when I know I am not. This is not lying. This is choosing the truth you wish to see expressed. You are not denying facts. You are refusing to give them further life by your attention. The facts you now see are the dead leaves of past assumptions. They have no power except that which you continue to feed them. Withdraw your attention from them, and they crumble. This law is not limited to great matters. You can apply it to every detail of your life. Assume harmony in your relationships, and see discord dissolve. Assume competence in your work, and watch opportunities unfold. Assume health and feel your body respond. The law is as impartial as fire. It will warm or burn according to how you use it. But there is a condition. You must abide by the assumption. A seed that is planted and dug up each day to see if it has sprouted will never grow. So too with your states of consciousness. Plant the seed, water it with feeling, and leave it undisturbed. Live in the end as though it were already so. The temptation will be to return to the old state, to react to appearances, to doubt. Resist this. Each time the old state presents itself, remind yourself, "This is only the shadow of what I used to believe. My new state is the truth." And return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Remember, consciousness is the only creative power. Nothing exists outside of it. Everything you experience, you have first accepted in consciousness, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The outer world is the exact measure of your inner state. If you do not like what you see, change the seed, not the soil. Begin now. Choose one desire, something you long for, yet have doubted. Close your eyes. Feel what it would be like if it were already yours. See the world as you would see it from that state. Hear the words you would hear. Let the satisfaction of it fill you until you have no room for any other thought, and when you open your eyes, refuse to betray that feeling. Carry it with you into every moment until it hardens into fact. This is the power of assumption. It is the key to the kingdom. Use it consciously, and you will prove for yourself that nothing is impossible to the one who dares to believe from the end. Chapter 2. Attitude shapes reality. Your world is yourself pushed out. This is not a poetic phrase to inspire you. It is a literal description of how life operates. Every person you meet, every tone they use, every gesture they make toward you, is your own belief about them and about yourself, returned to you in form. Most people live as though others are independent actors, making decisions about them from some separate objective place. They believe that relationships are the result of personalities clashing or blending. But in truth, every relationship is a mirror, and the image it reflects is determined by your attitude. Your attitude is not the polite mask you wear in public, nor the words you consciously choose. It is the invisible atmosphere of thought and feeling you carry within yourself when you are alone. It is the silent conversation you hold in your mind when you picture a friend, a co-worker, a partner. It is the unseen verdict you pass on others when they are not in front of you. And it is these invisible verdicts that shape the way they act toward you. Let me give you an example. A woman once told me of her struggles with a man she worked for, a well-known figure in the theatre. According to her, he was harsh, critical, and dismissive of her best work. She said he seemed to take pleasure in finding fault. No matter how much effort she put in, he never offered a kind word. I asked her to examine her inner conversations about him. She admitted that each morning on her way to work, she rehearsed arguments with him in her mind. She would imagine herself telling him exactly what she thought of him, in words she would never dare to speak aloud. She would replay moments of criticism and feel again the sting of his disapproval until her whole body was tense before she even arrived at the theatre. Do you see the law at work here? She was saturating her inner world with the image of a man who was against her, and the outer world faithfully mirrored it back. I told her to reverse the process. I said, "Each night before you sleep, and again on your way to work, see him in your mind's eye smiling at you. Hear him saying, 'Your designs are magnificent. We are lucky to have you.' Feel the warmth of genuine appreciation in his voice. Then hear yourself responding, 'Thank you. I'm so glad you're pleased.' Let that be the only conversation you have with him in your imagination." She agreed to try. Within a week, she noticed a change. His tone softened. His criticism became rare and constructive, and in less than a month he was praising her openly in front of others. She was astonished, but she should not have been, for she had changed the only thing that ever needed changing, her own attitude. You must understand, it is not enough to speak kindly to someone if, in your private world, you harbor resentment or suspicion toward them. The private world is the seed. The public world is the harvest. You may fool the outer man with polite manners, but the inner man, the reality behind the mask, is felt and responded to without words. If you wish to change the behavior of others toward you, stop trying to force them with arguments, pleadings, or manipulation. Instead, change the conversation you have with them in the silence of your mind. Refuse to rehearse grievances. Refuse to mentally accuse or defend. Replace the entire script with the scene you would love to play out in the flesh. You will find that people are not fixed in their roles. They appear fixed only because you hold them in place with the power of your assumption. Change the assumption, and you change the role they play. The same principle applies to strangers you have yet to meet. If you expect to be met with kindness, cooperation, and opportunity, you will radiate an unseen invitation for such behavior, and the world will answer. If you expect resistance, indifference, or rejection, you will encounter it. Not because the world is hostile, but because you have sown it in yourself. Your attitude is like the key that tunes an instrument. If it is tuned to discord, no matter who plays upon it, the sound will grate upon the ear. But tune it to harmony, and every note, even from the clumsiest hand, will carry music. This is why I tell you, guard the conversations of your mind as you would guard a treasure. When you think of another, let the picture be one you would welcome in reality. Speak inwardly to them in tones of love, respect, and gratitude. If you cannot do this sincerely, then withdraw your attention from them until you can. Do not imagine that you can hold one attitude within and expect another without. The inner and the outer are one continuous movement of being. Change the inner and the outer must follow. If you find this difficult at first, persist. It is easier to drift into old resentments than to consciously plant new seeds. But remember, every outer conflict you have ever known began as an inner conversation. The moment you master your attitude, you master your relationships. Tonight, before you sleep, take someone in your life with whom you wish to have greater harmony. See them as they would be if all between you were perfect. Hear their voice saying exactly what you long to hear. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude, as if it were happening now. Fall asleep in that scene and refuse to betray it tomorrow by rehearsing the old story. When you learn to sustain such attitudes, you will discover that you do not need to win people over. They will come willingly, for they will be meeting not the old image you once held, but the new one you have fixed in consciousness. The world is pushed out. Let your attitude be worthy of the life you wish to live, and you will watch your world reshape itself with effortless grace. Chapter 3. Desire as the Divine Invitation. Every desire you have is holy. Not one is given to you by accident. The common mind thinks of desire as something selfish, fleeting, or dangerous, something to suppress in the name of safety or morality. But I tell you, desire is the whisper of your higher self calling you into a greater expression of being. Desire is not born from nothing. It is the seed of a future state already prepared for you in the unseen. The fact that you can imagine it means it exists, here and now, in the dimension of reality that consciousness alone can touch. When you feel the pull toward it, You are feeling the vibration of that state calling you home. Most people deny their desires because they do not see the means to fulfill them. They look at their bank accounts, their health, their surroundings and say, "I can't afford it. I'm too old. I don't have the connections." They mistake their current conditions for the law, and they call that being realistic. But your present conditions are only the afterglow of yesterday's assumptions. They have no authority over what you shall be tomorrow unless you let them. When you accept a desire as yours, you are not creating something out of nothing. You are stepping into the reality where it is already accomplished. The bridge of events that will lead you there will unfold naturally, without strain or forcing. Here is the great mistake: thinking you must first know how before you accept what. The how is the domain of the unseen currents of life. Your task is to accept the end and let the means arrange themselves. Think of a radio. You cannot see the music you wish to hear. You cannot see the musicians playing it. But if you tune to their frequency, the song will fill your room. In the same way, your desire is the frequency of a life already yours in potential. The moment you tune your inner being to it, you begin to receive its reality. I have said before, you do not desire what you already are. If you are already healthy, you do not long for health. If you are already wealthy, you do not long for abundance. Desire, then, is the evidence of something you are meant to become. It is the invitation to assume a greater self-concept. Treat your desire as you would treat a letter of invitation from a dear friend. You do not question whether the event exists. You simply prepare yourself to attend. You choose your clothing, you arrange your schedule, and you picture yourself there. In the same way, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for the life to which your desire calls you. How do you prepare? By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by thinking from the state you long for, not of it, by letting the satisfaction of it live in you now. When you do this, the desire ceases to be a distant hope and becomes your present possession. The world calls this make-believe, but there is nothing false in it. It is the most practical act you can perform. For as you persist in feeling that your desire is already yours, the outer world, which is only the mirror of your inner state, must give form to that feeling. Even a false assumption, if held faithfully, will manifest. That is why it is essential to choose your desires wisely, to align them with your highest vision of yourself. Do not waste the creative power on petty grievances or trivial ends. Every assumption, noble or ignoble, has its harvest. Sow the seeds of the life you truly wish to live. Do not be afraid of wanting more than you have now. The very act of wanting is the proof that more is possible for you. The infinite is not poor. It will not run out of blessings because you have dared to claim one. Your desire is the proof of your capacity to fulfill it. When you feel the stir of a great desire, do not push it away with logic or fear. Instead, step quietly into the end of it. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude as if it were now. Let it fill your mind until it is more real to you than your current surroundings. Then, walk through your day as one who knows something wonderful has already happened, though no one else can see it yet. If you do this faithfully, you will notice subtle shifts in your mood, in the way others respond to you, in the opportunities that arise. The old path will begin to dissolve, and the new one will emerge beneath your feet. You will find yourself guided without strain, for your inner compass will have been set to the destination of your desire. This is why I say your desire is not a temptation to be resisted, but a prophecy to be fulfilled. It is the voice of your own expanded self saying, "Come up higher." Will you answer that call? Or will you turn back to the prison of what is because you cannot see the bridge to what will be? The bridge will appear only to the one who has accepted the end as true. That is the test of faith. Faith is not hoping for something that may happen. It is knowing that it has already happened in the unseen and will appear in the seen. So tonight, take one desire, the one that burns quietly but persistently within you, and grant it the dignity of reality. Assume it, live in it. Let the world adjust itself to your new state. You will see that your desire was never random. It was the map to your next level of being. Chapter 4: Renunciation and Mental Pruning. To assume a new state, you must first release the old one. This is the step most people resist, for they wish to bring the new into their life while keeping the comfort of their old ways of thinking. But consciousness will not hold two masters. You cannot persist in the feeling of lack and at the same time claim abundance. You cannot rehearse resentment and expect to live in harmony. You cannot dwell in the state of not having and expect the experience of having to appear. Renunciation is the art of releasing the mental habits that contradict your desired state. It is not about resisting them with willpower, for resistance only feeds the thing you are trying to escape. What you fight grows stronger because your attention is the lifeblood of every state. Instead, renunciation is a quiet but firm withdrawal of your attention from the unwanted, so that it withers from neglect. Think of a vine in a garden. Left unattended, it'll send shoots in every direction, some fruitful, others wasting life on barren wood. The wise gardener prunes, not in anger, but with understanding. He knows that by cutting away the useless branches, he strengthens the life flowing into the fruitful ones. Your mind is that vine. Every thought is a branch. Some bear the fruit of your highest vision, others drain your energy into barren ends. Fears, complaints, grudges, regrets. To prune the mind is to notice these fruitless branches and deliberately cut them off by removing your attention from them. You do not wrestle them into submission. You simply stop feeding them. When you feel the pull of an old unproductive thought, perhaps the memory of an injustice or the worry of a lack, you have a choice. Will you water it with your attention, or will you turn away and water the thought of your fulfilled desire instead? This is renunciation, not a harsh denial of life, but a wise refusal to energize the false. Some believe that to overcome evil, they must resist it. But in truth, resistance is consent. To resist is to acknowledge its reality and give it a place in your mind. True mastery is in turning away, in refusing to let it occupy your consciousness. As the scriptures say, turn away from evil and do good. You turn away by removing the gaze of your inner eye from what you do not wish to grow, and you do good by fixing that gaze upon what you wish to see expressed. This is why renunciation is always paired with affirmation. You cannot simply cut away the old without planting the new, for the mind abhors a vacuum. When you remove the attention from one state, you must immediately give it to another. If you wish to stop feeling unwanted, stop imagining scenes of neglect and rejection, and replace them with scenes of being loved, sought after, and appreciated. If you wish to stop feeling poor, stop rehearsing the story of not enough, and replace it with scenes of sufficiency and abundance. The discipline of mental pruning is subtle, but it is powerful. At first, you may only notice how tangled your vine has become, how many branches of complaint and worry you have been tending without realizing it. Do not condemn yourself for this. Simply begin the work. Each time you turn away from an unfruitful thought and place your attention on the image of your fulfilled desire, you are pruning. And each time you do, the life of your mind flows more strongly into the vision you have chosen. Do this consistently, and the old branches will dry and fall away without struggle. The garden of your mind will become ordered, and its fruit will be sweet. Understand this: pruning is not punishment, it is love. When you withdraw your attention from destructive states, you are not depriving yourself. You are liberating yourself from the weeds that choke your joy. You are honoring the new life you have chosen by giving it space to grow. So, the practice is simple but exacting. Throughout your day, watch the direction of your attention. When you catch it feeding a state you no longer wish to live in, cut off the supply by turning immediately to the scene that represents your ideal. Do this without strain, without inner argument, without trying to defeat the old thought. The old thought will die on its own if you stop feeding it. In time, this practice becomes natural. Just as a skilled gardener can see instantly which branch must be cut, you will see at once which thoughts must be released and which must be nourished. You will become the deliberate caretaker of your own consciousness. And remember, the more faithfully you prune, the more swiftly your chosen state will bear fruit. For the law is certain: whatever you consistently feed with your attention will grow, and whatever you neglect will fade. Chapter 5. Creation is finished. There is nothing new to create. Everything that ever will be, already is. To the senses, this sounds absurd. You look at your life and see what you have, what you lack, what you dream of, and you imagine that to have it, something entirely new must be brought into existence. But in the higher vision of consciousness, nothing is ever created. All is revealed. The infinite has already finished the work. All states of being, all possibilities, all outcomes exist now in what Scripture calls the kingdom of heaven. It is not a distant place, nor a future time. It is the eternal present, the dimension of consciousness that holds every pattern of existence. You cannot add to it, and you cannot subtract from it. You can only enter into the portion of it you are willing to occupy. This is why your desire is not a thing to make happen. It is a thing to select. Imagine a vast library containing every book that could ever be written. The story of the life you long to live is already on one of its shelves. You do not need to write it. You only need to choose it, open it, and step into its pages. The characters, the settings, the events, all are already there, waiting for you to assume the role of the central figure. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not forcing something into being. You are aligning your inner self with the chapter of the eternal book where that wish is already fact. From that alignment, the outer world reorganizes itself to match the story you have chosen. This is why the practice of mental pruning is essential. If you cling to the branches of the old story, you cannot enter the new one fully. You cannot occupy the state of abundance while keeping a foot in the state of lack. You cannot step into the chapter where you are loved while still reciting the script of rejection. But once you step fully into the new chapter, once you feel the truth of it, the scenes of your daily life will adjust. People will play new roles, opportunities will arise, and events will unfold in ways your rational mind could never have planned. These are what I call the bridge of incidents. The sequence of outer events that carry you naturally from where you appear to be to where you have already arrived in consciousness. The bridge is not something you must build. It is already laid. Your only task is to remain faithful to the end you have chosen. The bridge will carry you without effort, for it is not you who moves across it. It is life moving you according to the pattern you have assumed. Understand this. The moment you occupy a state in consciousness, you have entered a dimension where the fulfillment of your desire is already true. Your senses may still show you the residue of the old state, but these are only the echoes of what you once believed. Persist in the new state, and the echoes will fade until the new reality is all that remains. Some will ask, if all is already finished, what about free will? Your will is free only in this. You are free to choose your state. You may occupy the state of health, or the state of illness, the state of wealth, or the state of poverty, the state of joy, or the state of sorrow. Once chosen, the events that follow are bound to that state by law. You do not control the sequence, you control the selection. This truth is both liberating and sobering. Liberating, because you are no longer at the mercy of outer conditions. Sobering, because you cannot blame the world for what you have consented to within. In the eternal now, your desire is as real as the hand before your face. The only reason you do not see it is that your attention is fixed elsewhere. Shift your attention and you shift your experience. It is that simple and that demanding. Do not be concerned with how the outer world will change. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that holds the pattern of all creation. Your role is to live from the end, to feel the relief, the satisfaction, the gratitude of already having what you desire, and to refuse to betray that feeling with thoughts of lack or delay. Think of an actor on a stage. When he steps into the role, he does not need to build the set, write the script, or cast the other players. All of that has been prepared. His only task is to embody the character completely. Do the same. Step into the role of the one who already lives your desired life. Speak as they would speak, walk as they would walk, think as they would think. The stage of your world will shift to meet the character you have chosen to be. When you grasp this truth, life becomes a matter of joyful selection. You no longer beg for things to happen. You choose the state in which they are already done. And because creation is finished, your choice cannot be denied unless you choose to leave it. So tonight, close your eyes and enter the state where your desire is already fact. Feel its reality until it saturates you. Then open your eyes and walk through your day as though you have just returned from its fulfillment. You will discover that the new world will meet you, for you have entered it within. Chapter 6. Acceptance, the gateway to manifestation. You cannot touch a new life with one hand while holding tightly to the old with the other. You must step entirely into the new state and let it claim you. This stepping in, this complete embrace, is what I call acceptance. Acceptance is not hoping, wishing, or even strong wanting. Those are postures of the mind that still place your desire in the future. Acceptance is taking it now, not in outer form, but in inner possession. It is letting the feeling of fulfillment saturate you until you can no longer separate yourself from it. When you accept something as true, you stop questioning it. You do not check every hour to see if it is still there. You do not measure the distance between you and it because you know it is already yours. This is the difference between someone who thinks about the wish fulfilled and one who thinks from it. Think of a garment. You may admire it on display, imagine how it might feel to wear it, picture yourself walking through the street in it. Yet, until you put it on and feel it around you, you have not accepted it. Acceptance is wearing the garment of your fulfilled desire in consciousness and refusing to take it off, no matter what the weather of the outer world brings. When you first assume a new state, it may feel delicate, like a dream easily disturbed. The senses will try to drag you back to the old reality with their reports. Look at your bank account. Remember what the doctor said. Think about what they did to you. If you listen, you will step out of the new garment and put on the old one again. This is the only way desires are lost, by abandoning the acceptance of them. Do not expect the senses to confirm the new state at once. They are slow servants, and they must be given time to rearrange themselves according to your new position in consciousness. In the meantime, your task is to dwell in the end, to act and react from the place where your wish is already accomplished. Acceptance has a peculiar effect on the mind. It quiets it. The restless questioning of when and how fades, for you no longer see the desire as something separate from yourself. You are it. The relationship is no longer seeker and sought. It is union. And in that union, a deep rest takes over. Scripture describes this rest as entering into His finished work. This is exactly what you do when you accept your desire as already real. You are entering the chapter of the eternal story where the work is done and the promise fulfilled. You may wonder, but how do I hold that acceptance when everything around me denies it? The answer is simple: by refusing to accept the denial as truth. The outer world is not the cause. It is the shadow of your past states. Shadows do not dictate form, they follow it. Keep your form in consciousness, and the shadow will change of itself. One of the most powerful ways to anchor acceptance is through feeling. Feeling is the language of the subconscious, and the subconscious is the womb of creation. When you enter a scene in imagination and feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy as though it were now, you are speaking directly to the only part of you that can bring it forth. Do not wait for the feeling to arise on its own. Cultivate it. Invite it. Ask yourself, if this were already true, how would I feel right now? And then let your body, your breath, your thoughts answer. This is the rehearsal of acceptance. In time, the feeling becomes natural. You no longer need to summon it. It is simply the way you move through the world. This is when you know the state has taken root. From here, manifestation is not far, for the outer must conform to the inner when the inner is stable. Acceptance does not mean you ignore the outer world. You still pay your bills, go to work, and speak with others. But you do these things as the one who already lives in the fulfilled desire. You take the train as the wealthy man, not the poor one. You walk into the room as the loved one, not the lonely one. You answer the phone as the healthy one, not the ailing one. Your every small action is colored by the great acceptance you have made. Do not underestimate this. The smallest movement, when performed from the new state, carries the power of the whole state within it. A word spoken from acceptance has authority. A decision made from acceptance draws to it the resources it needs. A step taken from acceptance leads to the next, until the bridge of incidents delivers you to the full outer expression of what you have long known inwardly. So tonight, practice the art of wearing your desire. Close your eyes and slip into it like a second skin. Walk in it, breathe in it, live in it. When doubts arise, and they will, do not wrestle them. Simply return to the garment, to the feeling, to the end you have chosen. For the truth is this: you do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you accept as real. And when acceptance is complete, nothing and no one can keep the outer world from revealing it. Chapter 7. Effortless Change. The Principle of Least Action. Once you have accepted the end, you must understand this. The path to its fulfillment is not a struggle. It is not about effort, force, or endless pushing against obstacles. It unfolds according to the principle of least action, the law by which all creation moves along the path of minimum resistance to express itself. This principle is not mine. It is woven into the fabric of the universe. Water flows to the lowest level. Roots grow toward moisture. Light travels in straight lines. Life, in all its forms, seeks the easiest channel for expression. Your consciousness operates in exactly the same way. When you truly accept the wish fulfilled, the movement toward its physical expression becomes effortless. You are no longer straining to make it happen, for in your mind it already has. All your inner forces begin to move in harmony with that state, and the outer world responds without your need to drive it like a reluctant mule. Think of a magnet drawing filings into perfect order. It exerts no visible strain, no frantic scrambling. It simply is what it is, and in being so, it arranges everything around it. The magnet does not try to pull one filing at a time. The filings arrange themselves naturally under its influence. Your accepted state works in the same way. But here is the danger. Many, after accepting a desire, begin to interfere with its natural unfolding. They start looking for signs, doubting when they do not see them, trying to help the process with desperate action. This is the equivalent of planting a seed and then digging it up every morning to check its progress. The seed does not need your impatience, it needs your trust. The principle of least action teaches that the shortest, most harmonious route to your desire is already prepared. You will find yourself moved along it without strain, often without realizing that you are being moved. You will take certain steps, meet certain people, think certain thoughts, all of which will seem perfectly natural at the time, and only later will you see how they fit together to form the bridge to your goal. Do not mistake this ease for inaction. You will act, but your action will feel natural, not forced. It will arise from inspiration, not compulsion, and because it springs from the state of the wish fulfilled, every step will be aligned with your end. When you operate from the old state, the state of not having, every action feels uphill. You push, you strain, you worry, you meet resistance. You may achieve something, but it comes at the cost of exhaustion, and it rarely matches the depth of your original desire. But when you operate from the new state, the current is with you. Even challenges are absorbed into the flow, and you find yourself saying, "I could not have planned this better." The key is to keep your attention on the end, not the means. The means are the territory of the unseen intelligence that governs all life. Your attempt to dictate them only creates resistance. Instead, give yourself to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and trust that the least action path will reveal itself step by step. It is like walking through a fog. You cannot see the whole road, but you can see the next few steps, and as you take them, the road ahead becomes clear. Each step you take in faith from your accepted state illuminates the next, until you find yourself standing in the full light of your desire realized. You will notice something else. The outer changes often happen so naturally that you forget you once called them impossible. You look back and think, "Of course it happened that way. How else could it have happened?" This is the mark of the principle of least action. It leaves no trace of struggle, only the inevitability of fulfillment. Let this free you from the belief that you must fight your way into your desires. That is the way of the world that believes only in cause and effect, in pushing and pulling. But the way of consciousness is different. It works from the end and lets the invisible current of life carry you there. So, do not strain, do not chase, do not wear yourself out trying to force what is already yours. Wear the state, live in it. Let it magnetize your steps and shape your days. The least action path is already set, and it will carry you to your desire with the same certainty that a river carries its waters to the sea. Your part is not to carve the channel. Your part is to flow. Chapter 8. The Illusion of Free Will. Men boast of their free will as though it were an inexhaustible power, able to shape life at a moment's whim. But I tell you, what most call free will is an illusion. The events of your life, the decisions you make, the words you speak, the people you meet, all these are the natural outpicturing of the state you occupy. And a state, once chosen, contains within it the entire sequence of thoughts, emotions, and actions that will lead to its fulfillment. Think of a seed. You may choose to plant an oak or a rose, but once the seed is in the soil, you cannot change it into something else. The oak will not bear roses, and the rose will not grow into an oak. Each seed contains its own pattern, and once planted, that pattern must unfold. So it is with your assumptions. Your only true freedom lies in your choice of state, the inner position you decide to occupy. Once chosen, the events that follow are bound to it as surely as the flower to its seed. You may believe you are freely choosing each moment, but in truth, you are walking the path already contained within the state itself. This is why I say, choose wisely. For once you have accepted a state, you have consented to the life that comes with it, the joys, the challenges, the people, the places. If you do not like what is appearing in your world, do not waste your energy wrestling with the events. Go to the root. Change the state. Those who do not know this law believe that life is a matter of reacting to circumstances, and they call their reactions decisions. They do not see that their circumstances arise from the state they have accepted, and so they try to fix the effects while leaving the cause untouched. This is like rearranging the shadows on a wall while ignoring the object that casts them. The illusion of free will persists because the state you occupy feels so natural that you forget it was ever a choice. You think, this is just the way I am, and the world faithfully mirrors it. If you live in a state of lack, you will naturally think thoughts of limitation, speak words of scarcity, and make choices that reinforce the feeling of not enough. You may believe you are freely deciding to take this job or refuse that opportunity, but the truth is, the state of lack is making those decisions for you. If you live in the state of abundance, you will naturally think thoughts of generosity, speak words of increase, and make choices that expand your experience. Again, you will feel as though you are freely deciding, but it is the state of abundance that is living itself out through you. Your outer freedom is always the shadow of your inner choice. Change the inner choice, and the outer expression must follow. This is why the principle of least action works as it does. Once a state is chosen, the least resistance path to its fulfillment is already set. You are not making things happen. You are being moved along the track laid by the state you occupy. You are, in truth, watching the inevitable play out, though to your senses it may feel like a series of spontaneous decisions. The great error is to choose a state unconsciously and then complain about where it has carried you. You have the power to select a higher state at any moment. This is your divine gift. But once you select it, you must yield to its pattern and let it carry you. Do not try to mix the new with the old, for that will only cause confusion. You are not the doer in the sense the world believes. You are the selector, the acceptor, the one who says, "This is who I am now." And once you say this, life arranges itself to prove you right. So I say again, choose wisely. Do not waste your true freedom on the petty states of fear, resentment, or doubt. These will live themselves out as trouble, conflict, and disappointment. Instead, choose the noble states, abundance, love, harmony, health, and let their patterns express in your life. And here is the paradox. When you choose your state deliberately, life feels freer, not less. For then, you are no longer at the mercy of random moods or circumstances. You know the cause, and you control it. You stop reacting blindly and start living purposefully. Once you grasp this truth, you will never again ask, "What should I do?" You will ask instead, "Who should I be?" For you will know that the doing is already contained in the being. Choose the being, and the doing will follow effortlessly. Chapter 9. Persistence, the secret ingredient. The moment you choose a new state, the law begins to work for you. But whether it bears fruit in your outer world depends on one thing: your persistence. A seed planted in the soil contains the whole pattern of the plant within it, yet if you uproot it every few days to check its progress, it will never take root. So it is with your assumptions. They must be held, protected, and nourished long enough for the invisible to become visible. The temptation to abandon your new state is strongest in the early days. The senses will parade before you the evidence of the old reality: bank balances, medical reports, familiar disappointments, and whisper, "Nothing has changed." If you believe them, you will drop the new garment and put on the old one again, undoing the work you began. Persistence means holding to your assumption in spite of appearances, in spite of delay, in spite of contradiction. It means refusing to measure the truth of your desire by what the outer world currently shows you. You are not waiting for proof. You are living from proof that is already yours in the unseen. Scripture speaks of the importunate friend who came knocking at midnight for bread. At first the answer was, "Do not trouble me, the door is shut." But because he kept knocking, refusing to turn away, the bread was given to him. This is the posture of the persistent one, not timid, not half-hearted, but boldly holding to the end until it opens. When Jacob wrestled with the angel through the night, he said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." This is persistence, not in pleading with an outside force, but in refusing to release the inner vision until it is made flesh. You may think persistence is exhausting, but in truth it is restful. It is not straining or forcing. It is quietly, steadily returning to the state of the wish fulfilled every time you notice yourself slipping away from it. It is saying, "No, this is who I am now," and letting that identity draw all things to match it. Without persistence, the state you have chosen will wither under the constant winds of doubt. With persistence, it will take root so deeply that nothing can shake it. The winds will come, the storms of circumstance, the rains of delay. But the rooted tree does not fear them. It has already claimed the soil as its own. The world will test you, not because it is cruel, but because it is still echoing your old assumptions. Think of shouting into a canyon. Even after you have stopped speaking, your voice comes back to you in waves. Those echoes are the events and conditions still vibrating from the state you once lived in. They are not prophecy, they are residue. Ignore them, and the echoes will fade. Answer them with doubt, and you call them back to life. This is why persistence is the mark of mastery. Anyone can assume a new state for a moment. Many can hold it for an hour. But the one who holds it day after day, returning to it as to the most familiar place in the world, will see it harden into fact. Do not confuse persistence with stubbornness. Stubbornness fights against what is. Persistence rests in what is already true in the unseen. One is full of tension, the other is full of faith. One drains your energy, the other feeds it. Here is a simple practice. Each morning before you rise and each night before you sleep, Bring before your mind the scene that implies your wish fulfilled. Feel its reality until it is more vivid than the room you are in. Then, throughout the day, whenever the old state tries to call you back, return to that feeling for even a moment. This is how you water the seed. This is how you keep it alive. In time, you will notice something remarkable. The persistence becomes effortless. The state begins to hold you rather than you holding it. You will find yourself speaking, acting, and deciding as the one who lives there without even thinking about it. This is the moment of certainty, the point at which the law must bring it into visibility. So I say to you, persist, not once, not twice, but until the outer world sings the same song you have been singing within. For when the inner and the outer are in harmony, the work is complete, and the state you chose is no longer an assumption, it is your reality. Chapter 10. All things are possible. There is no limit to what you may claim, except the limit you set in your own imagination. No condition is too fixed, no circumstance too tangled, no past too heavy to be rewritten. All things are possible to him that believeth. This is not a poetic exaggeration, it is the literal truth of how life responds to the one who knows that consciousness is the only reality. The moment you accept a state as true and persist in it, the law must rearrange the world to reflect it. It matters not how impossible it appears to the senses. The law does not consult your bank balance before giving you wealth. It does not check medical reports before granting you health. It does not measure the size of the obstacle before moving it. It only knows the pattern you have impressed upon it, and it must express that pattern in form. You may ask, but what of the facts? Facts are nothing more than hardened states of consciousness. They are the outer crust of yesterday's assumptions. They seem solid only because you have stopped questioning them. The moment you assume a new state and persist in it, the so-called facts begin to crumble, making way for the new structure you have chosen. The world will call this a miracle, for it knows only the chain of cause and effect in the realm of appearances. But you will know it is law, the same law that has been working in your life from the beginning, whether you are conscious of it or not. The only difference now is that you are using it deliberately. When you truly grasp that all things are possible, fear loses its hold. You no longer tremble before a diagnosis, a rejection, a loss, for you know these are but passing shadows. You know that the reality you hold within will, if persisted in, cast its own shadow, one that is in harmony with your desire. This truth demands courage, for it removes every excuse. You cannot say, I am this way because of my upbringing, because of the economy, because of what they did to me. These may have shaped your old state, but they have no power over the new one you choose. The moment you accept responsibility for your inner world, you claim the key to the outer. I have seen men rise from ruin to riches, from illness to health, from loneliness to love, not by struggling with outer conditions, but by daring to assume the end in the face of all evidence to the contrary. They held the vision, they lived from it, and the world yielded. You may think your desire is small, but to the law there is no small or great. To raise a dime is no different than to raise $1 million. To heal a scratch is no different than to heal what the world calls incurable. The law knows only the pattern impressed upon it. So why not choose boldly? Why not assume the highest and best for yourself and others? Why not live as though the great promise, "Ask, and ye shall receive," were true because it is? Do not be timid in your asking. The infinite does not ration its gifts. The storehouse of heaven is not diminished because you have dared to take from it. Every desire you fulfill opens the way for a greater one, for life is an eternal expansion of being. All things are possible, but they are possible only to the one who believes they are. The law will not bring you what you secretly deny. You cannot say, "I will try," and expect to see results. You must say, "It is done," and mean it. And when you mean it, when you have accepted the end and persisted until it is the only reality you know, you will watch with quiet wonder as the world reshapes itself to fit your inner image. Doors will open, people will appear, circumstances will align. What once seemed impossible will seem inevitable. This is the true meaning of faith. It is not blind. It sees clearly, not the present facts, but the eternal truth that the state assumed must be expressed. It trusts this truth so completely that it rests, knowing the work is already finished. So I say to you, there is no limit. Only the limits you accept. All things are possible. Choose your desire. Accept it now. Persist without wavering, and watch the law fulfill itself through you. And when it does, you will not say, "I made this happen." You will say, "Of course it happened. It could not have been otherwise." Epilogue. Becoming a doer. Hearing these words is not enough. Understanding them is not enough. The law responds only to what you live, not to what you admire from a distance. You must move from being a hearer to being a doer, one who applies the law daily, deliberately, and persistently. Choose your state, accept it now, return to it every time the old calls you back. Live from it until the outer world has no choice but to yield. Do not wait for the right moment. This moment is the right one. The power is already yours. The door is already open. Walk through.